The city of Bumville is under attack by those guys right over there. Let's go take a closer look at them. They look like, oh yeah, those are the French, all right. 2mm irregular miniatures figures. We've got a seasoned infantry. We've got an artillery battery, seasoned infantry. And what's this over here? Look at that, it's seasoned cavalry. Look at those handsome lads. They look like they're spoiling for a fight. Well, I've got good news for them. The British are more than happy to oblige them. They have brought up additional line infantry to defend Bumville. They also have a unit of cavalry. And then over here on their right, they've brought up a piece of artillery as well. This is a wildly unbalanced scenario. You've got 2 units, a cannon, and a cavalry, against 3 units, a cannon and a cavalry, but not only do they have more units, they're defending a built-up area, which is a particularly difficult nut to crack. This is not meant to be a balanced fight, it's meant to be a practice fight. So we're going to kind of whip through it as fast as possible. As usual, the British, or I should say the Allies, in keeping with the rules, the boys in red are Allied forces. They have an elan of 3, and our French have an elan of 4. And one thing to be aware of here, I'm just going to keep those in the back to help us remember. And maybe I should do it like this so you can see. One thing to remember is that all of your figures have to be within 4 inches of your commander. Normally it's 8, but I have scaled everything down by half. All of my units are on 1-inch bases to kind of keep that in mind. So as we look at this artillery over here, that's as far as it can go. All of these allies are on defend orders, and then again, we can kind of double check, yeah, we're just within 4 inches, but if he moves up into the town, you're not going to have a lot of maneuver room. Over here on this side, we're going to run into the same issue that I need to tighten these guys up just a little bit more. Don't have to worry so much about formations here at the outset of the game, because at the start of any movement, you get to decide what formation you're in, and then that's going to affect what speed you're at. Today we're adding the complexities of horses and cavalry charges and all of that fun stuff. So let's just go ahead and dive right in. The French on turn number 1. The French on turn number 1. I don't know if I can keep that aimed at you. We're going to have to put that guy facing up, maybe. Yeah, we'll just put it right behind the hill. They get to see where the British go first. And the British are going to go ahead and choke these guys off as fast as possible. They're going to go ahead and move up their little bit of 2 inches to here. And they're going to call it good. And then likewise, these guys are going to move up 2 inches. Now, your commander can move up to 4 inches. He's not really any threat, so the key is to try and keep him in range of this. Oh, that's the problem with these guys. They're going to have to cheat over to keep this line of sight open, and our general is going to have to squeeze in. I've heard this game called a fight in a phone booth, and I really see why. The key here is that we want to try and spoil the attack as much as possible before the French get anywhere near Bumville. And then what do we do with these heavy cavalry? Well, it's a little hard to maneuver them because they are in line formation, and I want to swing them around this way. So I'm going to change to column of march for this first turn, and I'm going to throw a wild right haymaker with them. They want to go chase off the opposing cavalry. And so when they are in column march, they can move a grand total of 8 inches. Which will take them all the way over to here. And we'll just kind of bring them up behind, and you'll be able to see exactly where. And the good news is that does keep them within 4 inches of Major Allied General Major Domo. So we're done with movement. Then we have to do firing, and the only firing we have is the 2 cannons. The one over here, we'll slide over so we can just barely see them. We got a cannon over here and a cannon over there, and the cannon over there is going to be attacking. What do we want to do here? Let's go ahead and fire at this unit. They are at long range. I don't even know if this cannon is in range. They're not. So they're going to limber up. See how they're facing away from us? and then we'll go ahead and move them the 3 inches, and that's all they're going to be able to do this turn. That cannon is going to fire at this unit here, and at long range, they do need a 5 to hit. A 2 is going to be a miss, and just like that, we are on to... Oh, wait a minute. I didn't do any moving. I'm going to bring these guys... We're going to hustle them along. They are going to form column, attack column, which will allow them to move 3 inches. 1, 2, 3. And we'll just kind of bring them up like this. We'll bring our leader up to here. These guys are also going to form attack column to buy them that extra inch of movement like so. Obviously, they're not in column. They're in triangle. If I bring my camera over here to show you. And then what are we going to do with those cavalry? Now, because the French are on attack order, they are obliged to make some motion on attack. But I think that the trick here is to bring these guys... if they get within 9 inches, they're going to start taking cavalry pounding. I'm actually going to do the same thing, and I'm going to wheel about. They are going to come around this side. They're going to move 8 inches to here. And the French have the same issue that the British do as far as how do I stay in line. So we did all of the movement, then we did the cannon shot, and then there's nobody within charge distance. So that's the end of the turn. We'll back off here a little bit. We're looking at things from the Allied perspective. That's all right. So on turn number 2, it is once again... I'm sorry, I got to put these pointing face up. I know it's harder for you guys to see, but I will get so confused if I try to remember which one is facing the camera and which one is not. Once again, this is the French turn. What do you guys want to do? And they're going to, as far as movement is concerned, these guys can unlimber, so they're ready to shoot, but then they have to pick their direction. So they're going to aim this way as these line infantry march up the 2 inches to here. I guess we can kind of fire through there. And then this line infantry is going to move up 1 more inch to here, and that's where they're going to stop. The French can only win by taking Bumville, and they have until turn 15 to do so. What about this cavalry down here? We're going to move them in march order again. They can move 8 inches. So we'll take the centermost guy, we'll lay this out, and we'll say 8 inches is going to put them in column right here. And we'll just bring them right up like that. Ignore the fact this is heavy cavalry. They are seasoned line cavalry for me. So the British have done all of their moving. And now the French are going to go. And this time around, they're going to form line. They got their extra inch of movement. And we're going to march them forward 2 inches to here. And then to here. And then this cavalry... We don't want to get in the way of that cannon, but we got to stay within 4 inches. We'll move him up. So he has to stay within 4 inches. That's as close as he can get. And our cavalry now, oh boy. This is where things get awkward for the French. On this turn, this cavalry is going to have to form line. Or better yet, let's go ahead and form squadron, which allows them to move 4 inches and kind of slip right on in to here. That's about as close as they're going to get. I think that'll work, because that still leaves the route open for that cannon to fire on good old Bumville. Nobody is within 1 inch of anybody else. The French get to decide. They still have the elan advantage. They get to decide whether we work from right to left or left to right. Not that it really matters, because it's going to be a round of firing here and a round of firing there, plus the cannons. Now, this cannon does have a shot over here as well. The range there is going to be 9 inches. And at the 2mm scale, cannons can shoot up to 12 inches, actually. But at that range, they're only going to get to roll 1 die. So we'll start over here. It's going to be 1 die, and he misses this unit. Then we'll do this cannon to get it out of the way as well. He's going to fire 1 shot here. He only gets to... Oh, you know what? I did that wrong. Because he's firing at a guy in the open, he gets to roll 2 dice. And he counts the highest, so he does 1 damage. I'm going to use yellow dice. So they took 1 damage so far. Then this cannon is going to fire at the town and miss. You need to get a 5, and you only get to roll 1 die because you're firing at guys that are protected by big, heavy walls. The next thing we have to do is shooting, and we've got Allies and French shooting at each other. They are both going to get to fire 4 dice, and I think something bad is going to happen. Now, they're all seasoned, so they're all going to be hitting on 4s. We'll start with the red. They get a total of 3 hits here, and then the blue gets a total of 1 hit. So 3 on the French, 1 on the British, and that is going to disrupt this French attack. If you are disrupted... Oh, my cheat sheet does not have a real good, let's see, general effects. Cavalry, blah, 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 unit exhaustion, 3 hits. Oh, 2 causes them to become halted. Oh, they're not disordered. That's good. Okay, so the 2 hits mean they are pinned in place. Then we're going to go over here and just still working our way over. These infantry are shooting here. They're rolling 4 dice, hitting on 4s. They only get 1, but that is the second hit. That pins that French in place. They are halted, and then the French get to shoot back, and they get a total of 2 hits, which is enough to pin this unit as well. Nobody is disrupted just yet. We're going to switch to the top-down view so you can see all these damage dice. We're learning the rules. Just got to warn you, the tactics will come later. These guys are now narrow enough, and they are within 4 inches, so they're going to charge this infantry. This infantry, mind you, fired during the shooting phase, so they have to pass a activation check. They got to get a 4 up if they want to form square. And they do not. So they're going to get hammered, and you bring these guys to line. Cheat around a little bit. You kind of swing these guys in to squeeze in room here. There we go. That'll work there. Then we have the exact same issue over here in that this group, they should have swung out a little bit wider because they are now forced to charge in March column. Can you charge in March column? Only fresh, halted, and disordered may not. Follow-up charges, yeah, they all right. So they're going to go kablamo, and then we'll kind of spin them to face the charge as they meet it. Now, normally, I don't think infantry can charge these guys. Normally, when 2 units charge each other, they have an option to countercharge. But that gets even more complicated. Combat-based general effects. How about that? Reading is fundamental. Cavalry units cannot charge when they are in March column. So they cannot charge. They were, what, just about 3 inches away. We're going to put them right about there. And maybe next turn, guys, nothing doing this time. So we do have 1 charge over here because they were in attack formation and they've hit these guys who are halted. We have to do some combat. Now, the infantry are in line, so they're going to roll 4d6. The cavalry are going to roll 2d6. But they get an extra d6 because of the charge. And an extra 2d6 because these guys are not in column. So altogether, this squadron is going to roll 5d6. They are seasoned, so they're going to hit on 4s. They get a total of 4 hits, taking them up to 6 altogether. Now, not only that, but because they did 4 hits in the combat, these guys are going to have to recoil a half an inch away, and they become disordered, and the cavalry withdraw and become disordered. But before we get to that, Remember, these guys are in line, so they're going to get to do infantry, not in square versus cavalry. There's the rule I was looking at. Not in square versus cavalry. They only roll 1 die. It is a hit, so we'll take that. And we'll drop our casualty die here. Now, as I said, they are disrupted. We're going to put down a disrupted marker. We're going to pull them back a 1/2 inch. And then these guys have to withdraw. Withdrawal is a little bit complicated. And this is where I get a little bit confused, because it says that they have to withdraw if they fail to best their opponent. But I'm not quite sure what it means to best your opponent, because I also have an issue where the rules say that follow a cavalry that wins a round of combat, against an enemy cavalry. Cavalry that fights a successful combat must continue to move toward and charge enemy units every turn after the first initial successful charge. Well, wait a minute. So do they have to follow up since these guys recoiled? Or do they pull back and withdraw? I don't know what it means to best an opponent or win an opponent. I need a little bit more concrete language here. I am going to assume, based on some of the things that the other language, that these guys now are going to pull back 4 inches to right about here to regroup. Cavalry that are successful in destroying their target make another charge. If they don't defeat their charge target, they must withdraw 4 inches. And then it says they must withdraw 4 inches after combat, and then withdrawal means something very specific. Withdrawal means move back 4 inches, but there's a little bit more to it than that. They have to, let's see, they will withdraw 8 inches to the rear, and then do they, nope. So they're not disordered. These guys are disordered, these guys are not. That is the end of all of our hand-to-hand combat, so the turn now ends, and we go to turn number 3, and the command phase. And everybody improves 1 step. So this disordered unit, because it's not in combat, becomes ordered. These guys become unhalted. And then we are back to the French having the initiative, so they want these guys to move first. The cavalry now are going to move up. They're going to assume line formation. We're going to do it right around the center here. 1, 2, 3. Wait, can they? Let's make sure they're within 4 inches, just barely. And they're going to turn to face this way, as these guys are going to pull back about 1 inch or 2. And oh, look at that, it gets a little crowded. Cannon now no longer has a shot, so they're just going to stay there. These guys are halted. They can't move at all. Then we have to decide what to do with these guys. And I think the logical thing to do is... oh, what are we going to do here? We're going to, since these guys are pinned, allies are done moving. These guys are going to move. They only get to move 2 inches, but that should be enough space. So this guy is now going to swing towards town, like so. He is exposing his flank to this. Oh, you know what? He can't move within 1 inch of these guys, so they're going to have to come up this way a little bit more. And then this cavalry, so they do still have two hits. This cavalry is also going to form line and move 4 inches to here, so that they are ready to charge or countercharge and get stuck in there. I think we haven't done anything too egregious just yet, although we do need to bring this casualty over there. We're going to bring these guys up just a little bit to there. They're facing some pretty heavy-duty attacks on this side, but they're outside. They're within charge distance of both of these units. I think they're going to try to hold everybody down here and see if these guys can come take the town. That's really about the best bet they've got. The French get to go first on the shooting. They've got a cannon that is going to fire One shot. They don't really have much of a shot except on the town. Oh, no, they're not. These guys have to move, actually. They have to limber up because we're going to bring our commander up, and then they're going to move 3 inches closer to town. That way, we have a little bit more... Yeah, we're within 4 inches here. That way, we're going to have a little bit more maneuver room for our leader, and we're going to be able to swing these guys a little wider. We could probably bring them over here if we want to. In fact, let's do that. We're going to put them right in the center there to give these guys more room if they punch through to swing around this way. All right, so that's good for the movement. Then no shooting on the part of the cannons. These guys are not going to shoot. These guys are going to shoot. It's going to be 4d6 at this unit here, and they are going to get a total of 3 hits. That's 6. That's going to pin, but not disrupt. It takes 4 hits to disrupt. They are now reduced to conscript. They're only going to be successful on 5s next turn. On this turn, they are still successful on 4s, and they're going to light up... Who should they shoot at? No, they're not going to shoot at anybody, actually. You'll see why in a moment. We have... These guys are going to be shooting at... You know... If I was a little more careful, they're going to have to shoot at the town. It's only 2d6. Hitting on 5s. Or hitting on 4s, rather. They do get the... Oh, are they within 2 inches? They may not be able to. Nope, out of range. Well, let's see. Are they within 1 inch? See, that's 1 inch. So they're firing from here to here. The way I do built-up areas, by the way, it's supposed to be 3 inches across. I do the built-up area plus a 1 inch buffer around the entire thing. So long as they're within 2 inches, which that one unit is by just a smidge, we're going to give them the shot. So they get 1 hit on the unit that is in town. And, oh, I guess the town is burning. We're going to drop a 1 down there. Then they're going to have to deal with questions. What do these guys do? Do they want to open fire here and try to knock those guys out? Or do they form square because they are just about to get their world rocked by these guys? And if they do, you can't shoot out a square. Yeah, they're not going to shoot. We're all done with the shooting. Let's double check. These guys fired here. These guys are not shooting. These guys fired. Yeah, okay, we're done. Okay. Now we got to do charges. And that means that who's going to go first? And this is where the game does get complicated. The French have the initiative. They say, look, you guys got to call your charges first. These guys are within 4 inches, and they are in a must-charge situation. So they charge up to here, and they do conform, like so. These guys did not move. They're going to go ahead and form square. You can do that even if you're halted. If you are disrupted... Ooh, that's a good question. Can you do it if you're halted? Ah, okay. You have to declare your formation change into square in the shooting phase. So both of these guys are obliged to say, you know what? I don't want to get charged. I'm going to go ahead and form square. And then these cavalry now have the option of, well, they have to charge because they're on defend orders. They don't have to charge nobody. So we'll pull them back to the 4 inches, and then they do have to move. I wonder if we want to bring them around this way. Oh, we can't because they're too far from the commander. Commander has a 4-inch tether to this guy right here. So he may be able to move up to here, which will allow them to swing around. But man, that gets awkward, don't it? You know, I think we're done here. These guys can't charge. No, you know what? They are 2 inches away from the town, so they are obliged to charge into contact with the townies. That's right. And then because they are doing combat against the town, the infantry is going to roll, let's see, against a built-up area. I think they roll 2d6. Defending, the defenders roll 2d6. I know that for sure. And the attacking is 2d6 as well. So the French are going to roll, and they're going to get nothing. And the Allies are going to roll, and they're going to get nothing as well. So this combat is going to grind away until the victor is determined. But you can already see how this rule set here, Absolute Emperor, forces you to choose between square, not square, shooting, not shooting, and I honestly don't know what's going to happen here. Because how are these guys going to squeeze in? How are these guys going to... Oh, I tell you what, I got it. I think I figured it out. So what we have is a very interesting tactical situation here, where these guys cannot break square without getting pounded by the cavalry. That exposes them to continued fire from this infantry, and they can't even return fire. So they're basically holding these guys at bay just long enough to see what happens over here. It is the French turn. The French do want them to move first. And why would they? They're just going to hold. Well, we are going to bring him up to here so that our cavalry have a wider stance, because they can still move 4 inches. They're not obligated. Now, they can't move to within 1 inch of this guy, but they could swing around to, say, here. As long as they're up close to within 4 inches of this guy. And then these guys can limber up and move 3 inches to here. In fact, they kind of have to, because they got to stay within 4 inches of this guy. And they'll stop right there. And that's it for the British. They're going to stay in square. And they're going to stay in square. Now the French are going to move this guy one more time. He's going to come 3 inches over to here. And, oh, you know, if he's actually going to unlimber. Because that does put him... Yeah, he unlimbers because then he's got the open shot over here. Remember, you can move and shoot, but if he moves and unlimbers, then he can't shoot. So we have so these guys are going to... What do we want to do? I think we need to wheel them around. Well, all right, so here's the problem. As long as they're threatening these guys, the cannon can keep shooting at them. If they wheel over... We're going to slide them over here because we want them to be in a position where they can countercharge. So we're going to put them right here, like so. Just slide them over just a little bit. So they're in position to protect these guys when this British unit comes sweeping around. You know, for such a small little battle, there's a lot of thinking you got to do in a game like this. We are all done with our movement. Now we're going to do our shooting. These guys are limbered up. I always like to start with the artillery. These guys are not. They're going to be firing at a hedgehog. And when you are artillery, you shoot 2d6, hitting on a 5. However, I think if you're shooting at square, you're at plus 3d6. And you can do up to 3 hits. So I'm going to roll 5 dice. And I can do a total of 3 hits. If I get 2, they get 1 hit, and that takes this guy to 7. Oh, I'm going to spend the Elan. I'm going to burn that. We really need to get that second hit. So we're going to re-roll that die. We get a 5 and a 5, and then this unit is just gone. And the nice thing is, that unit now has to pass on a 5 up, which it does. Oh, nuts. The French really could have used that Elan point. When you drive a unit from the field, there's a potential for stealing the Elan. More importantly, that opens things up over here considerably for the French. And do we have any other shooting? We do. These guys are going to shoot over here. When you are shooting, that's going to be 4 dice because they are firing in line. And then shooting at... square, infantry, shooting, well, that's combat. Where's the shooting? They're attacking 4d6. Infantry and square cannot. Shooting, infantry, under threat, form square, can only do so on an activation roll. Man, I don't see anything that says they get a bonus. Artillery does, but I think if you're just shooting, then, you know, you're just shooting. So 4d6, hitting on, oh boy. So now this unit completely dissolves. They're gone. They have to pass a 5-up check, and with a 2, we're going to call it a 2, y'all saw it, that's going to be the theft of 1 Elan. Oh. So, I think when the unit leaves, oh, they took their colors, so they go up to 4, the French go down to 2, and how the tides of battle have shifted. Any other shooting? I don't think there is. Is there a charge? I think there is. I think these... Oh, no, you know what? You got to charge straight ahead. So there's no charging this time around. Yep. All we got to do is this fight over here, and it's going to be 2d6. I'm going to roll 2d6 for the townies and 2d6 for the French. Everybody's hitting on 5s. The French are able to do 2 shots, taking these guys up to 3 wounds. And they are halted, but I mean, they're in a built-up area, so it doesn't really mean a whole lot. And then, do you have anything else? Do these guys charge over here? No, because they're not facing forward. We go up to turn number 4. Might be turn number 5. I could be wrong about that. Now, the French have to go first. We're going to pivot like so, because I think these guys are about getting ready to charge. I think we're only going to get about 1 shot off at them. These guys are going to bring our leader as far away as we can get from here. We're going to put them right there. And then these guys are going to form column. And I'm just going to measure from the center point of where that column will be. And they're going to wind up, the center right there is going to be their column. Like that. They are, as long as they're further than 1 inch away. Yeah, they are. They're okay. Shooting out of, I think these guys now can take a shot at them. But I don't know what else to do. We got to put some more pressure on that. The other, so that's movement. Then the British get to move, and we're going to spin around like so. We'll bring him back just a little bit. We'll spin these guys so we can either fire. Oh, you can't fire into combat, so they're going to charge. And then we'll wheel these guys around like this, so that they're within the 4-inch charge. Yeah, they are definitely within. Now, that also puts them within the 4-inch of the canister shot. That could be a problem. We'll have to resolve it. As far as shooting goes, and then the other thing we're going to do is we're going to unlimber these guys and aim them at that cannon. We're going to do a little bit of counter battery fire. It's 1 shot. You need a 6. Doesn't do anything. Then these guys are going to fire, and they get to roll 2 dice. And every 5 is going to do a point of damage here, which is none. Then we have this shooting down here is going to be 4 dice against this unit. And there's no bonus for shooting into a flank. But they are relatively fresh, so they do 1 point of damage. And then we are done. No, we've got shooting over here at these horses. And that's going to be 1 hit on the horses. And then it's going to be time for charging. Because this line cuts through the built-up area, this line is within 1 inch. They are going to charge into... Oh, you know what else I forgot? On turns where you charge... And then these guys obviously are going to charge here. That's at 4 inches. And then these guys are going to charge here. So we got total. Now, it's going to be interesting because when you are attacked in the flank, you do not get to counterattack. So these guys... Let's do the easy one first. You see these guys up here? They're going to be rolling 4 against this artillery. And infantry or cavalry attacking an artillery unit. Oh, they're just going to roll 2d6. How about that? But they are actually pretty fragile. The 5-up is going to be shooting phase, a 5-up. It's a little bit different for the artillery. They are destroyed if it receives any hits. There you go. They cannot make a breakthrough charge. So, essentially, they're securing the guns. But that gun does still need to make its check, and because it failed, the British, the Allies, steal an Elan from the French. I told you this wasn't going to go pretty for the French, didn't I? The other thing we got to do is some combats. Now, we got a complicated one down here where we've got 2 reds versus 1 blue. And the way this works is these guys, this unit that's in Bumville, can attack 2d6 this way and 2d6 that way. So we'll roll the 2d6 against this cavalry unit first. They do get 1 hit on the cavalry. Then we'll roll the 2d6 here. And they get a 2 and a 2, so they have missed against this infantry. Then we'll roll this cavalry unit. And cavalry attacking a built-up area, anytime you're attacking, it's just 2d6. They get 1 more hit. These guys take a 2nd hit this time around. Oh, I forgot that the orders phase, this goes bye-bye. And then these guys are going to roll their 2d6. They're going to get, oh, look at that. They get 2 hits, which is going to take them up to 6, and they're disrupted. So there's your 6, and they're disrupted for what it's worth. Again, I don't think it really matters if you're disrupted, because it's not like they're going to withdraw from the town. Oh, wait a minute. No, if you do 5 hits, then they withdraw. Oh, and you need 4 to be disordered. No, combat, 3 hits. No, that's interesting. That 3rd hit causes them to recoil and become disordered. So they're forced out of town, and they are disordered because they took a total of 3 hits. That's why you want to assault them on 2 different sides, I guess. But we still have to deal with these guys. They're going to roll 4 dice against this unit. They're going to get 1, 2 hits altogether, which will take them up to 5, and that does halt them right there. And that is the end of the turn. Not only that, these guys are going to be in great position on the next turn. Turn number 5-ish brings us to a rather awkward situation. The French get to move first, and look at that. Because the British recoiled out of Bumville, there they are. The cavalry are going to ride in, seize control, and they won. Well, that's interesting. You don't get to choose. With the higher elan, the game is lost. If the side with a higher elan got to choose, they would choose to move first so that they could... Oh, even that wouldn't do them any good, because these guys improve to pinned in the command phase. These guys become undisrupted. And that's it. With that one little bit of sleight of hand, unless I'm missing something, unless you never recoil out of a built-up area. But you take 3 hits, that's a recoil. These guys have to recoil out. And not only that, but I think they recoil out in attack column formation. So I think they look a little something like that on their way out the door. And I guess having fewer units might be okay because the Allies are the ones tasked with defending a small area. They don't have a whole lot of room to maneuver to do that. So maybe old Boyd Bruce, there he is right there. Maybe he's more clever than I gave him credit for at the start of this battle, because that was fun. That kind of felt like the French were doomed from the beginning. But hey, we're not done with the Battle of Bumville just yet. We are going to go round 3, and we're going to take this up a notch. We are going to mess with different kinds of units. See, here we've got a line infantry, or we'll use the... See how there's 4 of them there? We'll call that our seasoned, and we'll call these guys our conscripts. Or alternatively, we'll call this our veterans, and we'll call this our... seasoned and veterans, or whatever. So we got to deal with that. We're going to have Grand Battery for the first time. The French are going to start off with 3 big cannons up there ready to pound away at the defenses of Bumville. Keep an eye out for that in a couple of days. I'm praying for you.